I want you to try something for me. Take a sip of this.
What is it?
A human drink. It's called root beer. What do you think?
It's vile.
I know. It's so bubbly and cloying and happy.
Just like the Federation.
But you know what's really frightening? If you drink enough of it, you begin to like it.
The United Federation of Planets is a utopia in the modern sense of the word. A mostly perfect galactic society built on equality, individual rights, and universal liberty.
You're aboard the Starship Enterprise.
I've heard of it. It's in the United Fleet of Planets?
Federation.
It is an interstellar state that also prizes scientific and political cooperation. The Federation stretches a vast 8,000 light-years across and contains over 150 member worlds, including Vulcan, Andor, Heliar-Zel, and Tellar Prime. Yet traveling at the highest speeds reached by NASA's Juno spacecraft, it would take millions upon millions of years to cross the Federation. But why did Star Trek writers create precisely this political and cultural institution for our Starfleet heroes to serve and protect? One possibility is that the Federation is the United States of America in idealized form. In a sense, Star Trek is a thought experiment, a way of understanding who and what the United States of America is. In terms of values, American society places a huge emphasis on universal liberty, equality, and on individual rights, as well as on respecting diversity, the same priorities as the Federation. Also, many Americans place a lot of faith in the scientific process and the technologies it produces as a means of improving the human condition. We expect technology and science to solve problems and to better our lives. As the Federation is an idealized version of America, writers have given the citizens of the Federation incredible technologies that cure disease, solve remarkable shortcomings, and figure out huge problems that we can't touch today.
You know, I've never seen a sunrise. At least, not the way you see them.
Writers have also given the Federation an idealized history. In the actual history of the United States, one ruling ethnic group has called the shots for a long time. This has occasionally placed the nation at odds with its values of liberty and equality. For example, in the early 19th century, instead of simply inviting the Cherokee to form their own state within the larger Union, those in charge of the US at the time simply removed them through a process we now call ethnic cleansing. This is a sad, regrettable chapter in the American story. However, Star Trek writers have given Federation history none of these dilemmas. The Federation's guiding principles are generally established right from the beginning, and Federation citizens, with a few notable exceptions, exhibit these qualities with remarkable consistency. New species are accepted into the fold on equal footing without bigotry or resentment from the established Federation members.
We are so honored to be accepted within the great Federation family.
We have a dance later, I believe.
I look forward to it.
So, if Star Trek is about testing Western liberal ideas concerning American society, then how does this play out in the Trek multiverse? There are two areas of testing in this thought experiment. One comes from within society, as individuals inside Federation culture grapple with important situations, and the other comes from outside the Federation, through interactions with representatives of other interstellar states. First, tests that come from within the Federation are standard throughout the franchise. Many times, Federation citizens have to uphold their values in the presence of aliens who represent wildly opposing values. Such is the case with Worf, the most famous Klingon in Star Trek.
I am a Klingon! If you doubt it, a demonstration can be arranged.
Worf is the first Klingon to serve in Starfleet, after a long, antagonistic period between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. As such, traditional attitudes toward Klingons and the Federation's own values of openness and equality are tested on Worf throughout his time on The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. He he is allowed to practice his own culture, as long as the interference with his Starfleet duties is at a minimum. Granted, sometimes that allowance becomes problematic.
If anyone cannot perform his or her duty because of the demands of their society, they should resign.
There is a limit to how far I'll go to accommodate cultural diversity among my officers, and you've just reached it.
Worf, like Spock before him, represents the conundrum of assimilating outsiders into Federation society. Values of individual liberty and acceptance are pushed immediately to the forefront as members of Starfleet wrestle with Worf and his Klingon culture. This, of course, is an issue very much alive today in American society. Will American values regarding a multicultural society hold strong as we encounter new situations and people? Worf and characters like him bring this question into focus. The Federation's values may also be tested from cultures outside its political boundaries. For example, in the Next Generation's Half-Life, questions regarding the sanctity of life are raised when the Enterprise encounters a culture that practices voluntary euthanasia. Lwaxana Troi meets a brilliant scientist, the perfectly healthy and mentally alert Dr. Temison of the planet Kalon 2, just a short time before he is to commit ritual suicide at the tender, productive age of 60. The episode pits ideas about the sanctity of life against the concept of respecting other cultures, a conflict very much center stage within modern American liberalism right now.
Jihadists, the question is the degree to which you're willing to say, because I've witnessed this behavior, which we all object to on the part of these people, I'm willing to flatly condemn those of you I don't know and have never met.
No,
this
it's
is
not
based
condemning
on
people.
The majority of these thought experiments happen in this way, in one-off episodic stories with interesting aliens of the week. As the Federation expands into the galaxy and acquires new members, individual citizens are tested as torchbearers of their multicultural society. So far, we've considered this issue on an individual level, but how are Federation values also tested at the state level in interactions with other interstellar communities? How can these alien communities also test American ideas? Each interstellar state encountered in Star Trek represents something of a mirror of exaggerated Federation cultural attributes, and by extension, as a mirror for the United States as well. The Romulans, for example, represent the phenomenon of being ruled by fear. They are a deeply paranoid and secretive people. Believing themselves to be superior to other races, Romulans are also highly xenophobic, practicing a rigid degree of isolationism. Strength, they believe, is the only way to protect their society, so they are ruled by the military and a civil caste system which includes slavery and keeps non-military subjects in their place. This kind of military-dominated society has appeared before in human history, and for countries like the United States, the danger of being a state ruled by fear is very much present. The Borg, the most fearsome foe of the 24th century, are a darkly reflected version of the Federation, and thus of American society. Remember, faith in technology to solve problems is a hallmark of current times, and a quality Trek writers have passed on in idealized form to the Federation. The Borg take that relationship with technology to the nth degree, integrating themselves with advanced applications that alter their biology.
By assimilating other beings into our collective, we are bringing them closer to perfection.
The collective suppresses the natural with upgrades and replacements better than flesh and blood originals. While technology is an inevitable way to improve the human condition, the Borg represent a distorted, excessive perspective. They are a terrifying warning to any society whose optimism in technology is not coupled with a degree of caution and respect for the individual. The Bajorans are perhaps the only real grand icon of religiosity in Star Trek, a generally positive reflection of America's own love affair with the divine. The graceful exhibition of the Bajoran faith serves as a contrast to the atheistic, secular humanism of the Federation. Bajorans also stand in as an oppressed people. The Federation's commitment to help them rebuild their society after the Cardassian occupation is an idealized reflection of America's self-ascribed role as a champion for human rights. Thus, the Bajorans represent a chance to step in and do the right thing, whereas in actual history, America hasn't always done so. The Cardassians themselves represent an excessive love of state at the expense of the individual. Vulcans personify the classic philosophical debate between emotion and logic. The Ferengi serve as a warning to use the capitalist economic system judiciously and to not let it eat away at society's moral center. And the Klingons? They have often stood in as representatives of America's Cold War tension with the USSR. The Federation is tested culturally, politically, in a variety of ways with each of these alien states. The writer's choices of topic reflect the many things that America wants to discuss concerning itself. But what do we learn from all these fictional interactions? What value do we glean from pairing the fear-driven Romulans against the Federation's values of openness? From pitching the fervently pious Bajorans against the Federation's tolerant humanism? Or from watching hyper-capitalist Ferengi struggle under the comparatively socialist-like utopia of the Federation? There is probably no one singular lesson. Like the personal relationship we have with a real mirror, our relationship with Star Trek is based on perceptions that change day to day. Sometimes we like what we see. Other times we can tell exactly where we need to put in some work. And occasionally, we don't know how to feel. However, every time we look into the mirror, no matter our feelings, we see ourselves.
And the worst part of it is, my only hope for salvation is the Federation.
I know precisely how you feel.
Thank you for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment in the subspace below and click on over to Patreon to support the channel. And if you are interested in tumbling down the rabbit hole of non-Star Trek topics, then I suggest you visit Curio, a channel driven exclusively by curiosity. Thank you.